Hello everyone, Kaloki here, and I'm doing another draft review today. Today we're doing a review of a mono blood deck that I ended up drafting. One of the main reasons I decided to go this path is because of the card I opened right here, Pack 1, Pick 1. The Castigator is an amazing troop, better than anything else in the pack for sure. It's a bomb 4/4 flyer for 6, and then he can be effective without attacking or blocking. His ability is rather insane if he stays on the board. So we take him over anything else in the pack, and then in this pack here we notice the rare is missing, but there are some really good cards. The Boulder Brute is probably the best card in the pack in my opinion. Very close second is the Clergyman. But neither of those are with the color we chose to go first pick, and the Corpse Fly is good enough that I think I can sacrifice the pick value or the card value and stay in the color, just because the Boulder Brute's great and the Clergyman's great, but I don't know what I'm going to be going just yet, and I think Corpse Fly is still good enough to just go ahead and try to stick with Blood and just try to see what we can get going. But it really does suck to pass up a Boulder Brute because it gives Mono Blood a lot of problems, and the Clergyman is just so strong. But the problem with Clergyman is he's Diamond, and Diamond requires a lot of double Diamond cards with the Citizenries and the 2/4 flyers. So I didn't really want to go Blood Diamond when I have a Castigator which costs triple Blood. So I was really probably either deciding between the Brute or the Corpse Fly, but I just decided I'll just go with the Corpse Fly and hope we get Blood. So it's kind of a gamble. I usually like to take the best card in the pack, but I just figured I'd do that this time. And then here we see a Burn of the Ground, which stands out as by far the best card in the pack. So I decided to just go ahead and take that. Maybe we'll end up going Blood, Ruby, and see what develops from there. In this pack, the best card is by far the Craze Squirrel Titan. But again, I already passed the Boulder Brute, and since there is a Corpse Fly who's also very good, and he's good against, Squirrel Titan, I guess, if I'm playing against a deck that has like a lot of big drops like that, Corpse Fly can be problematic, because either have to discard those things when they're stuck in their hand, or discard the resources early on. That makes it harder for them to get those guys out. So I just decided, based on the fact that I had a Corpse Fly and a Castigator, I'd go ahead and take that Corpse Fly. This pack, there was like really nothing for me that stood out as really good. I kind of make a weird pick here. I don't 100% agree with it. It was just, it was tough. I was thinking of taking the Guard Scout because I had 2 Corpse Flies, and it's good against the Corpse Flies. Just kind of cut it, and maybe I could go Blood Sapphire. There's no Blood, unfortunately, really, and there's no good Ruby. I mean, maybe I could take the Arena Brawler, but I don't want to take it that early. I just don't like that style of deck, but it wouldn't be terrible. I considered taking the Brawler, but for some reason I ended up taking the Chlorophilia. I just felt like maybe because I saw the late Squirrel Titan, that maybe I'm going to be getting fed wild, and then that way I can kind of get away with running less wild and more blood still if I take the Chlorophilia. So that was my reasoning there. This pack, there's nothing too strong. I really love the Inquisition, especially if you're in mono blood. I'm really just going to try to disrupt their hand with the Corpse Flies and the Inquisition, so I went ahead and took that. The Atrophy is the best card. Not the best card, I guess. I really like the Dragon Guard. I think that guy's great. He usually goes really late, and he's expensive, so you don't want to get too many of them, so you don't want to take him too early, because you could end up, seeing a bunch later on that, if you take him early, you're sacrificing good picks over him, and then later on you might get some anyways, so he usually goes around pretty late. But I went ahead and took the Atrophy here. I think it's a very, very good trick. In this deck, I'm probably going to be going Control, based on the fact that I have, 3 cards that discard, make my opponent discard a card. And so I felt like taking the Atrophy is really good there. So here, I really don't like the Witch that much. I mean, he's fine, or she's fine, but just not in a discard deck. It's kind of like a non-bow with the Corpse Flies. You get lucky with the Witch, and you hit a creature that has 2 toughness or less, and it's just a dead card in their hand. And then all of a sudden you play a Corpse Fly. Well, what do you think they're going to discard? It's just like, I don't like that. There's no synergy there at all. So I decided to go ahead and take an Infusion device, which is kind of strange, but I felt like I'm going to I have a lot of double casting cost things, double threshold things, and the Castigator, and then also, if I need to, I can get higher terrible transfers. So I took the Infusion device, which was probably a pretty strange pick, but I just wanted the flexibility with that. Then I took the Sorrow, because again, my deck's looking pretty slow. It does kind of stink that I got Corpse Flies, which I only have one defense, but still Sorrow's very, very good. I took the Cooking Pot here because that goes with the theme. Not an amazing card. I very rarely play the Cooking Pot, but I think in this deck, because I'm just going to be so heavy, just disrupting their hand, it's just going to be a pain for them to deal with. So I didn't mind taking that there. Ivory Pond. All these picks are pretty pretty much self-explanatory when you get down to the last few picks here. But so far the deck's looking decent. I don't really know if I'm going mono yet. I might splash for Burn of the Ground. It's that good. You know, I'm keeping my options open. This pack, the rare's pretty terrible. The best card is the Corpse Fly. I think it's just, you know, it goes with the theme, goes with what we're trying to do. These cards are very, very strong. You know, you get instant value when you cast it. You get to get rid of one of their cards, and then you're either going to trade with the troop or trade with removal of some sort. So, pretty good value there. So, I didn't mind taking the Corpse Fly. Now here, the best card is the Cloud Titan, in my opinion, or maybe even the Heroic Inspiration or the Survival of the Fittest. I like removal a lot. I kind of don't like Cloud Titan as much in this game. It's just, I mean, the 4/4 flyer for 5 is still excellent, but for some reason, it's just not as strong as it looks. But it is very, very good nonetheless, and it probably is the best card in the pack. But none of these picks really stand out for me, and I just decided I'm just going to take the Headless Executioner. I'm just going to be straight control, just try to, you know, disrupt their hands and then just drop fatties. That's my plan at this point. This guy, I take him. He's not the best. Blood doesn't have the best gems for him. I kind of like the -1/-1 gem. Whenever a troop blocks him, they get permanent -1/-1. I think it's pretty good. It just makes him really problematic. But the gem's kind of bugs right now, where if you try to block with that troop will actually -1/-1 himself. So it's pretty big bug for that gem. But I still like that guy as a solid 3-drop. Here I'm going to take the Call of the Grave for sure. There's the Blood Servant over there. But that guy's pretty bad. Even though I'm mono blood, he's a 0/1. He can get dealt with so easily, and his ability is basic. You can't just pump him up at instant speed, which is terrible. So I'm not going to take that. It was basically between the Call of the Grave or the Banshee, the 2/2 unblockable guy. And I really like Call of the Grave, especially when I'm making my opponents discard a lot of cards. I'm going to have a whole lot of removal, and I have a Castigator, which unless they transform it, they're going to have to kill it. And I can basically just get it back with Call of the Grave. So I really like having Call of the Grave there. This pack, nothing really stands out. I think the Heavy Welding Bot, I think, is a pretty good drop. Like, it goes with the theme of what I was saying, that I just want to have big troops and removal. I consider taking the Mystic here because he's a very, very solid troop, and I could still go Blood Sapphire, and that guy's probably the best card in the pack. And I just felt like, I'm not sure, I haven't seen enough Sapphire to think it's really open that I'm going to switch into to stop trying to be mono blood. So I decided to go ahead and take the Welding Bot, since I had the Goblin Cooking Pot and the Infusion device. And here I take the Briar Legion. There's nothing really that mono blood wanted. Actually, I don't take the Briar Legion. I was considering taking the Briar Legion because of the Call of the Graves. I like Briar Legion with Call of the Graves, so even if they kill it, you can get it back, and then it gets the buff again. It's a great combo. But I think because I had 3 Corpse Flies, and I also had seen that the late Mystic 2/4 flyer, I decided to go ahead and take the Emissary because it seems like there's a strong possibility that Sapphire may be open. And then here I have a choice between Darkspire, Priestess, and Atrophy. Because my 2-drop slot is so light, I decided to go ahead and take the Priestess. And I already had an Atrophy, and I've seen a few of them floating around, so I may be able to pick another one up later on. And here I almost snap picked the Carrion Blob. It looks like Wild's kind of open based on the Feral Ogre and the Sprite and the Evolve still being there. But I'm not going to cut. I'm just going to either take the Carrion Blob or the Pawn. At first I was going to take the Carrion Blob just to try to gain some life, but also because it's a 2/2 guy and it can kind of disrupt people that are trying to reanimate their troops. You can remove it in response. But then I took the Ivory Pawn just because I passed the Paladin earlier. So there's another Atrophy we get to take. And I think the Atrophy is definitely better than the Vulture. Bravery, I just cut that because I'm most likely going to be playing Zared, and that kind of counters my Zared ability. Take the 1/3 guy just as a early drop troop. The Runeer Commander is actually really good. I'm surprised he's there so late. Even the Stone Skin as well. But I felt like the Stone Skin is going to be more disruptive to my game plan, so I took that. So really, we haven't seen any murders. We haven't seen a lot of stuff. Well, but then we just opened up Extinction, so that was a pretty sweet gift. It is in a pack with Terrible Transfer and Blood Aura, which I would love either of those to table. But obviously we're going to take the Extinction here. In a control style deck, a troop or a card that just says destroy all troops is phenomenal. You know, and this deck struggles with Spell Shield, and Extinction is like the one answer for Spell Shield. So obviously we're taking that. I'm just looking at the rest of the pack here. But I still feel like I am getting cut blood. I didn't see any murders, like I said. I haven't seen a whole lot of I haven't seen any good blood uncommons like Corrupt Harvester or Rockcaster or stuff like that. but somehow I felt like there wasn't enough strong signals otherwise for me to go into another color, so I was just trying to, you know, make the mono blood thing work. And unfortunately, we are not seeing any blood getting passed to us. The Boulder Brute's really strong. The Forgotten Lord's okay, pretty good. Probably I'd take the Noble Citizenry over Forgotten Lord if I was going to cut or try to go Diamond. But I think the Boulder Brute is just so problematic, and there's still a chance that I may play the Boulder Brute if I can't end up going mono blood. Again, there's like no blood. It's really kind of crummy for us, but I think the Wizard's the best card, and there's still also a chance that maybe we'll go Sapphire. So I'm still just keeping the options open. Like, I'm definitely gonna have enough playable cards, and there's not like I'm really sacrificing a good pick for my deck by taking any of these cards, because there wasn't any good pick for mono blood anyways. So here we got a lot of choices. I was considering taking the Sensei, because it's an early drop. It goes with the Brute and the Chlorophylia that I have. And I was really thinking about taking that guy. I really like him. He's great early, you know, get you out of Mana Screw or Shard Screw early on. And then also, it's just a good body, gives aggro deck some problems. But the Secret Laboratory I felt like would be really good in this deck. It allows me to play cards like the Cooking Pot, even the Zombie, the 1/3 Zombie, which is, he's kind of a scrub, but he's good early against aggro, and sometimes you just need him, but late game he's terrible. So running something like Secret Laboratory kind of allows you to play cards like that with a little bit more flexibility, because if you get him late game when you don't need him any longer, you can just pitch him. So I took the Laboratory there. Blood Oro is a snap pick for me. I love that card. Really, really good, especially if I have Call of the Graves to get the troops back. And it's good on the Castigator also, because his ability actually does damage. It's not like loss of life. I don't like the Shame Gladiator that much in this type of deck, even though it is a 2-drop. He does deal 2 damage to me when he comes into play, which was just it's just too much of a drawback for me to take him, because I'm going to be trying to just stay alive. And I was happy to see that Call of the Grave there, and this Bone Warrior as well. The Bone Warrior's not amazing, but he's good enough, you know, to kind of stall just a little bit, and you know, he lives through my sorrows, and he's a 2-drop, so I liked it. And then we get a Terrible Transfer, which I was hoping would wheel, and it does, so that is excellent. And that's I mean, there's like basically 2 reasons to go mono blood. It's the Terrible Transfers are one of them, and just the consistency of just not having to worry about threshold. Getting the Terrible Transfer is pretty much the primary reason to go mono blood. It's just so strong. When blood can't really deal with artifact troops, and that gets around that, it just does a ton of damage, gets you right back in the game if you're low on life. It's excellent. So I took the Witch there, not really much else, and it's still fine. I could side it in if I need to, and then I take the 5/5 there for 5. He's kind of you know, it really does suck that he can't block, but he's really just a big body that is going to be problematic for my opponents to deal with after I make them discard a lot of their answers. So I was thinking about taking the Peak. Actually, I was first thinking about taking the Darkspire Enforcer just as a body. Then I was thinking about cutting the Peak, but then I decided I'm just going to cut the Fang, because I don't have a whole lot of early things, and I think that guy on turn 1 would actually be a lot of trouble for me. So I just decided to go ahead and cut him. I'm not going to play him, just decided to cut him. And we get another Atrophy, which is great. And I think that's pretty much it. The rest of these picks are just going to be, you know, just janky stuff that nobody wants. So take the runts. I don't know why it took me so long. And then Baby Yeti. Nobody gives Baby Yeti any love. But here we go. This is the deck that I decided to go with here. I went with Zared, of course. It works well with the Sorrows and the Atrophies. So you can kill two defense troops and stuff like that. But basically, I didn't end up playing the Effigies. And my strategy was basically just like I said before. I just want to play bigger troops and have disruption and removal. Like, that's it. Like, the Effigies are good, but the Gems and Blood aren't that strong. And like what I said, the best one that I think is the -1/-1 is bugged right now. So I felt like there's going to be a lot of times where I'm going to need that guy to block, and just because of that bug, I won't be able to. But even if that bug didn't exist, I'd still probably build the deck like this. I went with 18 shards, which I think is very important. When you have something like Secret Laboratory, it's okay. You know, you don't have to worry about getting flooded as much. As long as you draw a Secret Laboratory, then you can just get rid of those extra resources. But having 18 just allows you to make sure that you're not gonna, you know, this is more consistent for not getting shard screwed early on. I built the deck like this. I wanted to have a lot of heavy hitters late game with the 2 Executioners, the Heavy Welding Bot, and the Castigator. and then the terrible transfer. So this deck is going to be really resource intensive. I'm going to need a lot of resources. So playing the 18, I felt like was a strong choice. And then I still have, you know, a Sorrow. I only ran one Sorrow main deck. I do side in the other Sorrow, as you'll see in upcoming matches, but it's not good against all types of decks. You can usually find at least one troop in a deck that can at least, you know, just go 1-for-1 with, you know, and if you're playing dwarfs, it's just a blowout. Alright, so here we go. Match 1, we're up against New Funkland. Not someone that I recognize, but he's playing the champion that for 5 charges can give +3/+0, and we have a good hand to keep. And he actually mulliganed, which I was happy to see as far as for what my strategy is to make him discard. If they're on the play and they have to basically start with less cards, it's a huge advantage for this type of deck. But then he plays Oracle Song and just crushes my dreams, basically. So he gets 2 cards there. And then I play my Banshee, which should be pretty good against him unless he's playing robots, but it doesn't look like he is, even though he's in those colors. I decided to just play the lab there. I'm not going to just Extinction there, of course, and play anything else. Might as well use my resources, get the lab out. Then he plays a Sniper and kills my Banshee. Pretty good value for him. And he still has, he's very close to using his charge ability. So I activate lab, discard a shard, and then play a... I shouldn't have actually played this. I felt like we would be... I didn't really have enough that I'd be able to sacrifice that to at a later time, but one of the reasons I'm playing that card is so I can discard it to lab and then get it back. But then actually I had 3 shards open, and he went ahead and activated his ability, so I figured he had Counterspell in his hand. So I was about to just concede, because as soon as if he countered it, of course, but to my surprise, he didn't have counter. When you're playing against somebody with blood and they have 3 shards open with a bunch of cards in their hand, he's got to be thinking I have murder. So when he activated his champion ability onto his guy and swung in for 5, I felt like he had a response to my response, so he was comfortable doing that. But he doesn't, to my surprise, have the counter spell, so I was a little bit surprised by that. And then here I actually made a misplay. I activated my laboratory, thinking for some reason that I would be able to play my guy and not have to discard anything important. But I draw a Heavy Welding Bot, and I have to discard it so I can play a shard and then play my Castigator. And then he swings in, and I'm okay taking this trade here because I have the Call of the Grave in my hand. So he basically made that guy spell shield, which is the reason why he wasn't worried about the murder before. Instead of having the counter, he just had the arcane shield. And then he swings in here, and basically I could block, but I decided not to because he may have like a burn or something like that. And I have my charge ability to kill his other guy. So I decided I'll just go ahead and take the 2 damage, and then I can swing in for 4, get this guy back. And the good thing about Castigator is that you get to see whatever they draw. Even if it doesn't do any damage to him, you still get to see that they didn't draw a spell, that they just drew a shard. So it's kind of like a relief, even though you don't get to do the damage. So it's kind of a bummer at the same time. But we see that he draws a Mesmerize, and that's not going to be enough to save him. So we know that this game's ours, and we're going to go on to game 2 here. So he does have that Arcane Shield, which is pretty concerning for us. You know, we have a lot of removal. We do have an Extinction, that's great, but if we don't draw that Extinction and he gets his charge ability on something that I can't block, and you know gives it Arcane Shield and we can't target it, I mean that's going to be a very, very short clock. Like we're not going to have much time to be able to do anything. So I just there's not much more I can do about it. Hopefully get it out of his hand with Inquisition or something like that. But there's not much I can really side in against him. I decided to put in actually I decided to take those guys out or keep those guys out because he has like stuff like the Sniper which can kill it. So it's not going to be too effective against him. And I think I put in the Zombie Vulture because he does have that 4/4 flyer, which if he doesn't have any removal for the Vulture, it will trade with. So I decided to go ahead and put that in and just save it like this. But all in all, I think it's a pretty good matchup unless he gets the Spell Shield card on one of his guys, and if that guy has evasion. Because I don't have a whole lot of guys to block with anyways. Most of my guys that block are pretty small, and then I have my bigger guys are 2 Headless Executioners which can't block anyways. So it's actually pretty scary. A pretty scary combo, Lionel with Spell Shield. So this hand's looking okay. It's really, really slow, but I have all the shards I need. I just need to survive. So he drops a Shemcraze Berserker Flying, which I'm not too worried about because I have I've got Zared, and then he plays that, which is a relief that he's not going to be able to spell shield it. But I was hoping that if he did have spell shield, that he was going to keep Shards open so that I could use my Zared ability, and then he'd try to spell shield it, and then in response I could atrophy it. But it didn't work out like that. Just got the kill, which is still fine. He's got 5 cards in hand, and he just basically passes the turn. So I'm not going to terrible transfer. Just in case he has a counter or bounce or the spell shield card. So I just decide I'll play my 5/5. Then he has a speed guy, so I'm getting kind of low on life here. But since he's tapped out, or he only has 1 shard available, which there's nothing really he can do about the terrible transfer, I decided to go ahead and just swing in and then do the terrible transfer to gain some life and make sure I kill that guy. He's got a mesmerize for my guy, and then he decides to put the +3 Lionel ability on his guy, and he's got two resources available, which really bums me out because there's a strong likelihood that he's keeping up the arcane shield. So I just have to play my other executioner. I'm not going to try to terrible transfer, and then he swings in for 5, and then so I use my Zared ability on the Royal Falconer, just trying to test him out, see if he has the arcane shield. In response I could atrophy, but he doesn't arcane shield it. So I'm thinking, well, maybe this guy doesn't have the atrophy, or the arcane shield. So I just basically double atrophy his guy and kill it. So at this point I'm feeling like he doesn't have arcane shield in hand. He should have definitely saved it if he does, and he just decides to go ahead and play a sniper route to do 2 damage to me, which I think is fine because I don't really have any good targets for it anyways, and I'm at relatively low life and I can't block that guy with what I have out, so he might as well, and he's got chump blockers for days, so it's not a bad play at all. So I actually kind of make a misplay here. I think I probably should have just tried to terrible transfer the Falconeer, just in case he had a arcane shield, because all I'm trying to do at this point, because I'm so low life, is gain 9 life, and he's basically trying to prevent me from doing that. So I might as well just do it on a troop that he doesn't value, or just like a less valuable troop. In case he does have the arcane shield, then that troop will be spell shield, but I won't really care because it's just no 1 flyer. But he does have the arcane shield, so in response I atrophy it, and then I just luckily top deck a Blood Aura, which is huge with the Executioners. Gaining 6 life in this spot is just ridiculous, and he doesn't have a response, so that's pretty much game. Alright, for match 2, we're up against Dun Yas, who had a bye first round, and he's playing Lionel as well. So I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, he could be playing an aggro deck, he could be playing the same type of deck, or he could be playing a deck that I'm pretty scared of, which is a Ruby Wild Spell Shield deck with, like Boulder Brutes and then Lionel, stuff like that. There's a lot of socketable cards in the in Ruby Wild's color combination. So it's not a bad strategy with the Spell Shield to get 4 troops that have Spell Shield in your deck and just play Lionel and play like Ruby Auras. So I was a little bit concerned about that. But looks like so far he might be just playing mono red, and we get a Goblin Cooking Pot to discard a Burn to the Ground, which is amazing. It's got to be one of the best Goblin Cooking Pots ever. And then I play a Corpse Fly, and it discards a Burn. So we're just getting rid of all of his removal, which is great. I decided not to block here because he does drop a wild, and he's got 4, so I'm thinking maybe he has a wild aura. So if I block there, he's just going to wild aura. I'm just going to save 1 damage. It's not going to really do that much. But if he does have a wild aura and he doesn't play anything, and I try to Zared it, and then in response he wild auras, and then in response to that I atrophy it, it'd be a much better outcome for me. But then he plays this guy that can get bigger for every 4 mana he puts in, or every 4 shards he can get bigger +1/+1. So I think that guy's going to become a problem later on. So I decided to just go ahead and kill it with the Zared and the Atrophy, and then decide to block with the Corpse Fly. And then even if he had something to growth or something like that, I could still call the grave, get my Corpse Fly back, and get that last card out of his hand. So that's what I do. Actually, I do call the grave, the Corpse Fly, and get a card out of his hand. But it was just a shard, which I was kind of bummed out about. But it still means he didn't play it to get closer to his charge ability, and things are still looking pretty good. I play my Executioner. I'm swinging in. I've basically got board control here. I've got answers. I've got ways to get my troops back, and I've got ways to get rid of my my dead cards. So looking really good. And he just goes ahead and scoops. So that's one of the good things about control. If he still had Burn to the Ground in his hand and Burn and all that stuff, it'd be a lot harder. But you got to pay attention to the fact that he does have Burn to the Ground. It's very important. That card can just burn you out. So you gotta, when you're playing against somebody that you know has something like that, you gotta make sure you don't get too low in life, because you could just be over at any time, if possible. I mean, sometimes you can't do anything about it, but a lot of times I like to use life as a resource and just take damage instead of blocking with guys, when I can wait until later time to block with a bunch of guys and make sure that they won't be able to kill my guy with growth. But I may have to change my playstyle because he has Burn to the Ground. So I decide out a Sorrow, because it's not as good against this guy from what I saw. He does have a Gem Crazed Berserker, I think, in the 3/1 guy, the 3/1 for 2. But I'm not too worried about that guy since I have Zared and Atrophy. So I felt like I just go ahead and take out the Sorrow. Now this is a hand I don't like to keep usually. I mean, I have a 6-drop, I have a 5-drop, and I only have 2 Shards. Even though I'm on the draw, if I was on the play, I'd probably for sure pitch it. So this is one of the disadvantages of being on the draw. You kind of get trapped into keeping hands that you otherwise wouldn't keep. But because I'm running 18 Shards, I figured I'd go ahead and run it. I do Inquisition him, and just see he has a bunch of big troops, but he does have a 4-drop that deals double damage, and I knew that there would be a chance that I wouldn't be able to deal with it right away, so I just decided to get rid of that guy and just try to hope to draw Shards. But he gets a Pack Raptor and gets another Pack Raptor, and I don't draw Shards, so I just decided, let's just go to game 3. So I put in the Sorrows again. I took him out last time because I didn't see the Pack Raptor, and I don't mind having him in. I definitely want to have those in against the Pack Raptor, because they can get out of control. But as long as I have one in my hand to just deal with the first one, then he's going to have 4 of them in his deck that are just going to be basically draws it, and it's just going to be a 1/1 troop, and then I can usually Zared that guy, or maybe I'll have a different Sorrow or an Atrophy. So I figured, but I just need to be able to deal with them right away before he gets multiples of them out. So I wanted to have the Sorrow in there. And then looking at this deck, even though the Banshee is good against him because he doesn't have blood and he doesn't have artifact troops, I felt like this deck's not trying to win with something like a Banshee. It's not like a really aggro type deck. I'm trying to win with things like the Castigator, Heavy Welding Bot, the Executioners, like the big beefy guys later on. So I decided I'm going to take that out and just put that second Sorrow in, just to guarantee that I'm going to have something, or not guarantee, but greatly increase the chances that I'm going to have a way to deal with his early threats. Because I feel like if it goes late game, I should have the advantage with the Extinction and the multiple terrible transfers and the Castigator and just the big guys late game. So I went ahead and put that in, and I have one in my hand, which is great. It's just a relief, good feeling knowing that you have answers to their early stuff. So I play the Bone Warrior. He's really not that strong, but for what he does, he's okay. I mean, every other turn, basically, he can absorb some damage, and then he also trades with one defense troop, so it's fine. So I got a pretty good draw here, and then he has a Bombsmith for my Corpse Fly, which is fine. Basically, even though he has that 1/1 on the board, I basically got rid of a Shard, and he had to use another card to kill it, so that's fine. And then I got to play another Corpse Fly, and he does have a Ruby Aura that he discarded, but Ruby Aura is very, very good with Lionel. Just a big problem, especially if you have a Spell Shield guy to put it on. It's just so tough to deal with. So I was happy to see him discard that. And now he's got 5 resources available, and he just decides to play the 5/4 guy, which is a pretty big guy. I can't really deal with that guy too much. I didn't get any murders. I don't have any terrible transfers in my hand. I do have the Extinction, but I kind of want to try to get a little bit more value out of it. I decided to go ahead and block with the wall, and then just kill the Ruby Enchantress here with the Zared ability, and then swing in for 2. And I'm still not going to Extinction. I'm kind of hoping he uses his Lionel ability before I Extinction as well. Maybe drops another troop, but he doesn't. So I tap to activate this guy, but he still comes into play tapped, because you have to tap, or transforms into being tapped or exhausted, because you have to exhaust him to use his ability. So that's one of the problems with the guy, but still every other turn you can absorb some non-crush damage. So I decided not to play the Headless Executioner here, because I do have the Extinction, and I'm just hoping he drops like one more troop. If he does, then I'm gonna Headless or I'm gonna Extinction. I'm not going to Extinction just yet, because the troop he dropped does have 1 defense, and I can kill it with Zared. I felt like I'm just gonna wait a little bit longer here and see what he does. But I decided not to swing in. I want to get back my my Corpse Fly, make him discard one of those 2 cards in his hand, and then I can double block his 5/4 guy. And then if he does have like a Wild Aura or Ruby Aura or something like that, then I'll definitely Extinction next turn. But what he does is he plays a Sensei into a Sapper's Charge. So now I know if I double block, he can Sapper's Charge 1, and then my guys will, basically both my guys will die and none of his guys will. But now I'm just like, all right, well, I'll just Extinction. So I was completely okay with that. And then I still have a Call of the Grave, Sorrow, and a Headless Executioner in my hand, and a Bone Warrior in play. So it's still looking pretty good. He does still have his charge ability available, which I was, a little bit worried about, since I don't have any hard removal right now at this point. But I do get to get rid of that last card in his hand, which was a Gore Feast. So that Extinction, he was kind of upset that I had Extinction, which I don't blame him for, but now I see why he's so upset that I killed all of his troops right before he was able to cast Gore Feast. But so it's pretty good timing for me. But it looks like he just starts drawing shards, and now, that's one of the things about Extinction. You just Extinction, and then you just start dropping troops that you held back, and they're just playing off the top of their library, and a lot of times they'll just draw troops, and they're not going to have very many turns to draw something, because, you've been saving up the troops. So we get him down to 3. I decided to hold back the Bone Warrior just in case, it's going to be hard for his colors to deal with this many threats anyways, so I just felt like it would be fine to go ahead and hold it back for that turn. Now I swing in with all of them, because he's got to deal with 2 of the 5/5s and still deal with something else, so I decided it'd be fine. He does actually have enough to block 1 and Survival of the Fittest to kill the other one, but the 3 damage goes through and we get the win. Alright, so here we go. We're in the finals, and we are up against Salamnia, who is also Zared. Zared's just such a strong ability. I see such a strong champion. I see him in the finals pretty frequently. Just the fact that his ability can change the board state on turn 4 is really good. But he has a pretty good turn 2 play. It's actually pretty devastating for me. I can't really do anything about it. And this guy, he's a 2/1 that whenever he does damage to an opponent, he basically makes every troop that he controls on the board get +1/+1. So he plays a troop, then he swings in. They both get +1/+1. I do have a blocker for it, but he's playing Zared, so he can kill it, so I can't block it again. And basically, this game, I just get stomped. I can't do anything about it. I do have answers, but not going to draw it. I basically have to draw an Extinction off the top on turn 4. I'm dead. That was a pretty insane draw, I felt like, for him. And, he's got a pretty solid deck. So I just go ahead. I see that I don't have Extinction on turn 4, so I have to scoop. So we go into the sideboarding here, and I decide for sure I'm putting in 2 Sorrows. I even put in the zombie here, the 1/3 guy. I just want guys to block that guy early on, because that guy is going to be so effective, as you just saw. If I don't deal with it, he's just going to win the game very, very quickly. So and then all of my Sorrows and Atrophies, if that guy gets online, starts dealing damage, is going to buff up all of his other troops, and my Sorrows are just going to be pointless anyways. So I need to have ways to either Sorrow right away, or as soon as he drops it, or to block it so he can't buff up all of his troops. So it's kind of a tough sideboard. I knew for sure I was putting in the Sorrows, but as you see, I've got 43 cards in, because I knew I wanted to side stuff in. I just wasn't sure what I wanted to sideboard out. I think I put that guy back in, even though I took him out. Yeah, I do put that guy back in, and I just trying to think about what I need to take out. I think I probably take out the 2/2 guy. One of the Atrophies makes sense just because it's on turn 4, and I've got other I've got my champion ability to just make sure I can do that on turn 4 anyways. So I think I take out one of those guys, and I take out the Banshee. So that makes sense. It was a tough sideboard. I may even put in the 5/5 guy again, but I think it looks good like that. There's not really much else I could take out. I just because that guy can't block, I felt like I should take him out. And the Call of the Grave is actually going to be pretty decent in this matchup, because he is blood. So for the first time, I can actually get something out of their graveyard and put it in my hand. So I was happy with this hand. I was on the draw as always. I try to be on the draw. I'm only not on the draw if my opponent wins a coin flip and they decide to draw. And I have the Sorrow in my hand, so he gets his turn 2 guy. I'm sure he's pretty happy about it. But then I got Sorrow, and what a relief, because that would have been pretty much game. It looks like he's got the exact same draw, so I'm pretty scared that he's going to drop a Citizenry on turn 4, and then that guy's going to be huge. But he misses his turn 4 shard drop, which is excellent for me, because it just slows him down a little bit, and then I can go ahead and kill that one troop, the Pegasus, and I'm just slowing down the damage a little bit. And I drop my 5/5 guy, so it's kind of like a race right now. And I do have the Blood Aura, which is awesome, but at the same time, I'm playing against Blood Diamond. Like, I'm not just going to Blood Aura that guy and then have him murder it or interconflict or repel. So I decided I'm just going to go ahead and play the Castigator, see what he's got. So he interconflicts it, and I'm thinking still I may Blood Aura the Castigator, even though he can't attack or block. I'm still going to gain the life off of his ability. But then he decides to Zared my Executioner with 2 shards up. With 2 shards up, I'd normally be worried about repel, but because he went ahead and used his ability on my guy, I'm thinking that's just a telltale sign that he doesn't have a repel. Because why would he waste that if he was just planning on repelling it anyways? Unless he's just playing mind games and wants me to think he doesn't have a repel. But that's so unlikely. I just decide I'm going to go ahead and play the Corpse Fly here. And I like to play the Corpse Fly pre-combat a lot of times just because I have a combat trick where I'm going to Blood Aura this. And I don't... When you're going to give your opponent a choice to discard a card from their hand, you want them to have as little information as possible before you make them discard. So before I play my Blood Aura and attack, I wanted to play the Corpse Fly first, just in case he discarded something that that he wouldn't have discarded if he knew that I was about to Blood Aura my Executioner up. So I just go ahead and decide. I'll go ahead. This is actually a mistake because just in case he did have repel, I should have Blood Aura'd my guy before I swung, just to ensure that the Blood Aura gets on my guy and then I can call the Grave It back later. But I swung in first, just going into the combat phase too soon, and then luckily he doesn't have the repel, which I was pretty sure he didn't. And then I gain the 5 life, but it's still a pretty good race. Like he is playing Blood Diamond, he can still have a bunch of removal spells, so he just draws a murder, takes a 3 damage, and he's going to most likely murder my Executioner, which he does. And so I can block one of his Banshees. I still take 4, go to 7, and he's at 9. So I just draw a shard. Doesn't really help me, but I decide because he's got one card in hand. I think most people would just get the Life Drain Troop back instantly, but I actually really wanted to think about this because he's got one card in hand, and I know it's not a shard because he discarded a Turret Wall last time and he drew a murder. So if he had a shard last time, he would have discarded that over Turret Wall. So I know it's something, and if it's removal. And I play the 5/5 guy, like if it's like an inner conflict or something like that, and I play the 5/5 guy, it's just going to be such a beating. I won't be able to deal with the Banshee. So I just decided to go ahead and get rid of that, and then whatever it was. And it was just a Wailing Banshee, not the most impactful card, but still I feel like it was the right play. I still feel like that was like logically the best decision. Even though the other guy, I do want the life gain. I wish I could have them both, but I think because I knew he had something in his hand that I just didn't want to have to deal with it. Oh, actually, he timed out there, and he had to come back. So that's where that break was. But he just drew a Shield Trainer, nothing too great. I was kind of happy to see that at this point in the game. So we're basically just trading 2 for 2, but I'm also got the Castigator up. So at this point, he doesn't attack with his Griffin, which I think he probably should have. Because it puts me to 3, and then he can. I can't attack back next turn. So like he doesn't attack because I guess he's worried about my Castigator killing him, which makes sense. But I was pretty relieved that he didn't attack because if he does attack, then I can't attack back. Because if I attack back, then I lose. So now we're just basically looking at each other, not doing anything. But my Castigator is going to be doing work. So I was kind of happy he didn't swing in there. And then he just draws a shard. So no. The gameplay doesn't, or the board state doesn't really change, but this time he decides to swing with everybody. So he's at 4 life, and I'm at 5. So I decide I'm just going to block with my Bone Warrior, take 4, go to 1, and then I swing in for 2 with my Corpse Fly, and just pray he draws a spell that costs 2 or more. That's what I'm planning to do at this point in the game, because there's not really much else I can do. I'm not going to block with my Corpse Fly just to try to take more damage, because I'll just lose next turn anyway. So I do draw a Secret Laboratory, which is why I was kind of holding these shards back, to fake like I had something, and also just in case I drew that. And then on top of that, I draw a Extinction. So this puts me in a very tough spot. Like if I was a gambling man, I could swing in there for 2 and just be like, all right, not play the Extinction, just hope I win right there and now. Because if I play the Extinction now, I'm going to kill my Castigator, and I'm not going to have that ability anymore. But that's a big if. It's a big if. He could draw another shard, and then I just lose. So I felt like I'm going to reset the game except for the fact that I have a laboratory in play. So I'm going to be able to draw into things quicker than he is. Even though he gets to draw after Extinction, he gets the first turn. So it looked like he drew a shard, so it just happened to be the correct play because he would have killed me. But I still thought that was an interesting spot, you know, tough decision. I decided to keep the Inquisition, and then I draw into a Heavy Welding Bot, so I discard the Goblin Cooking Pot, which would have killed him if he was at 1, which would have been glorious, but he was at 2, unfortunately. And so I just play that guy, but he's still going to be a tough to deal with. He draws another shard and just shrinks him and basically concedes. So we're on to game 3. So I like the way my deck was built. I don't think there was anything I really wanted to change going into game 3. I thought everything looked pretty solid against him. I needed, you know, the early blockers against his Protectorate Defender. I needed the early Sorrows. I pretty much forced not to be able to change any of my early stuff because of that the threat of him being able to get that guy out early on and just take over the game. I think decide to put in the Witch because I saw that he had multiple of the 2/2 guys that can't be blocked except by artifacts or blood troops. So I decided I'd go ahead and put that guy in, even though I hate him with the corpse flies, like I was saying earlier. He's just it's not a combo at all, not synergistic. It's just terrible. I just wanted a way to be able to block his guys, and even if he shrinks that 2/4 guy with Zared, I can still block as a 1/3 and just be a push. So I keep a 2-shard hand. I wasn't too excited about it. I'm on the draw, but I had a Sorrow, so I knew like I could be able to kill his early guy if he had it. He doesn't drop it turn 2. He drops the Paladin, but on turn 3 he does have it. So the Paladin's actually a really good troop, but it's not that great in his deck. The only life gain I saw from him was the Pegasus, so I wasn't too threatened by it, but I wasn't happy to see just, you know, 2 drops and 3 drops. He just keeps playing guys, and, you know, I desperately needed a shard, and I get one, which was so well timed. So again, that's one of the reasons I'm playing 18 lands in this deck. You just need the resources. You need to get to turn 4 resources in this deck because that's where my secret labs, my atrophies, everything that draws me into more things comes online. So I really need the four shards, which is why I draw, which is why I was playing 18 shards in this deck, just for the consistency. So he's saying how he's stuck on 3, which I pretty much know why he's saying that is because he has a citizenry in hand, which would be problematic for me to say the least. But he doesn't have it. He just decides to bravery up his guy and just keep swinging. He plays the Pegasus, which I'm fine with. He gains 2 life, but I've got atrophies to deal with it. And for some reason, I know he's gonna play a citizenry if he has if he hits a 4 shard. But I just decide to main phase atrophy his guy, which was terrible. I was so upset with myself when I did that. I was like, why did you just do that main deck? You know, maybe you would have had like another bravery or a stone skin or something like that. But I knew he would do this, and basically it cost me 5 life or 3 life, I guess. Because instead I would have terrible transferred that guy instead of atrophying his other guy. So a little bit of a mistake, not too crazy, but I go ahead and decide to terrible transfer it. And then during my turn, I also, since it was a 5/5, I decided to go ahead and call the grave it during my turn, just in case he had to call the grave himself, so he couldn't get it back. So he buffs up his citizenry with the Diamond Aura and swings in, and I've got lab active, so I'm getting, you know, deeper and deeper into my deck, and I decide I'll just go ahead and get that last card out of his hand and then play the 5/5 guy, and I'll actually shrink his guy to a 3/4. So that way, if he decides to shrink my guy to a 4/4, I can still block his guy. So I feel like I just wanted to make sure that I'm stable. I've stabilized at this point, because even if he top decks like a removal spell or something like that, I should be able to win as long as I play defensive enough. So he's got no cards in hand. I know I could swing in here and gain 6 life because he's got no removal. But I decided to go ahead and just swing in for 5 because I don't think there's anything they could do to just kill me outright if I play the Heavy Welding Bot. So I decided to go ahead and get that out and see what he draws or plays next turn. So he drops the Lord Adam, the powerful, very good troop. But at this point in the game, it's not going to be enough for him. So here I decide I'm just going to go ahead and swing in and gain the 6 life. And knowing that he doesn't have anything in hand is just such a great feeling, knowing he won't be able to kill that in response. I'm going to gain that 6 life, and there's nothing he can do about it. And at this point, it's looking like it's just game over. I've started to gain life. I've got board control. I've got ways to get deeper into my deck and thin out the cards I don't need. And I've got big troops on the board. So, and he's just basically drawing off the top already behind. So it's looking pretty good. He was just talking about how he didn't know why he couldn't block for a second there, just because he just had the diamond troops. He thought it was a bug or something, but yeah, so he can't block my Banshee here, and then I draw a terrible transfer, which is just amazing, so I gain even more life, and then he basically has to block here, and if he tries to double block to kill one of my troops, I can just terrible transfer one of his guys, kill that guy, and kill the other guy, board wipe him, and it's just, yeah. This game definitely turned around. I did get lucky that I drew that 4 shard before he did, because if he would have got a 4 shard and played the Noble Citizenry, I doubt I would have been able to stabilize soon enough. But it's just the luck of the draw, and you know, I try to make the deck as consistent as possible for that exact reason. So we ended up getting the win. So not my best draft, I would say. I mean, I did have a weird draft style. You know, I wasn't getting enough blood really fed to me that I felt like I should be going mono and mono blood, but I was, you know, still picking other cards just in case, you know, like the Boulder Brutes and you know, Burn of the Ground, still taking good cards just in case I could play those, but nothing was really coming that would make me want to stop being mono blood, and I felt like I got enough blood cards to warrant going mono blood. Obviously you want to have as many terrible transfers as you can get. I only ended up with 2, but it was still enough to get it done, and you know, it was a fun draft. I liked that last match. It was a good matchup. You know, I thought those games were really fun. You know, I was pretty worried. They were pretty intense. And that last game, or the game 2 where we had the Extinction, I thought that was a great game, and was happy to get the win. So sorry it's been so long, guys, since I posted a video. It's been, you know, a few weeks or so, but I'm gonna try to keep posting them again. You know, I've just been busy, and I want to get some more out, and you know, keep them coming, like I was saying. Just you know, keep the videos coming out, and I appreciate you guys watching. I like all the feedback, so please feel free to comment, and I'll respond. I watch the comments, I look at them. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. And I hope you guys are in the game. If you're not, you just go to hextcg.com and you know, sign up for the beta. And I hope to see you in game. Thanks, guys. See you later.